kind of fuzzy, but basically it means that the amount of human interactions needed to get to an end product that's usable is minimal. Now it could be like as little as, a few hints here or there. Like today, if you use Cloud Code or if you use some other tool like OpenAI, you can eventually get it to produce working code. But it'll take you hours. Like you can ask OpenAI, give me a script for doing this task. It'll generate code. It'll most likely not compile, not run. You can tell it the errors. It'll try to fix it, and you iterate over it, and eventually it'll work. And then you move on to the next feature. So you just rinse and repeat.
Welcome to Practical AI, everybody. I'm Jeff. I'm here with Peter Lynn. Practical AI is brought to you by Pocket AI. Pocket AI is a tool you can use to edit the weights of your model. With Pocket AI, you can prune over 60% of the weights in your model while increasing accuracy. Peter, I thought it'd be fun today to kind of cover two topics. They happen to be related, although I don't think they need to be with getting efficient here with so many topics sort of spilling out into the wire. We may have to cover more than
Okay.
just one per week. And this week, we're kind of in the agentic AI or AI agents. And let's start off with OpenAI, and we'll finish with Manus AI.
Yep.
OpenAI this week kind of announced something with autonomous agents. Tell us a little bit about what they're doing and what this could mean.
Yeah, so this goes back to last year when they kind of said that their revenue would eventually include agents that could do work equivalent to a human worker. And one of them was a programmer. And they had floated the idea of a 20K a month subscription that could do the work of a junior developer.
So they, how much in terms of details did we get about this solution?
Well, it was not very many details. It was more of like, hey, we're thinking of charging you 20K a month. And they were trying to put out feelers to see what people would say.
Okay.
They wanted to gauge the market.
And is this a replacement one to one, or is it one to two, one to N? Like, can you replace as many developers as you want with one
No,
agent?
no idea. Until we
Okay.
see it for real and we get hundreds of people trying it, we won't really know.
Yeah, because it seems like to replace one junior developer for essentially of all-in cost of 140K annualized, um, it's depends on the quality, of course, right? But doesn't seem like a outrageously awesome deal.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, if you go back to how the software is actually built, the key part is the engineer asks questions of the business people and say, okay, what do you really want? And they'll listen and they'll ask the same question a dozen times, or they should, to figure out what really needs to be built. Because oftentimes, new graduates from college are given a task and they just go, okay, this is what the business guy told me. I'm just going to build it. And they do that. And then immediately, when they show it to the business person, they're like, no, that's not what I want. Which you and I have seen multiple times with
Yeah,
customers. A team
right.
going out for 3 months, writing something, coming back, and then business people are like, you just wasted 3 months of time.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the running joke is from a programmer's perspective is if people would just got out of the way, all of this stuff would work great.
Yeah. Yes.
And but
Yeah.
the business doesn't actually know what they want. That's kind
No.
of one of the first problems. And second of all, it's changing all the time anyway. And a lot of it has to depends on just feasibility or what are my options, right? So, but that's neither here nor there. I'm a little curious. Uh, where this goes for OpenAI and if it's critical, right? Is it critical that they can find a way to monetize to that degree their platform in some way, right? Because this is a big jump from what are they what's the it's like $5 a month. I mean, it's like
Yeah, I
tell us
think the
a little bit about how they price stuff right
well,
now.
there's different pricing tiers. I think the cheapest one is like you can buy number of tokens is the cheapest one. And it's by like millions of tokens. Or you could pay, I think $5 is the cheapest one. I could be wrong. It might have changed. And then there's $25 a month. Um, and then it goes up from there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So essentially, you get in cheap, but you start burning the toll on the tokens, right? Because companies are using way more tokens, both in training and in the responses, than you would think they would, right?
Yeah, and in fact, that's a big problem. Is that people think, oh, I get 2 million tokens, but you do a few test experiments, and all of a sudden, 2 million tokens is gone.
Yeah. Okay, well, the reason why I ask it, how critical is this? Because another thing dropped this week, which I think probably fell under the radar for most people that are outside of the AI sort of community, and that
Right.
is Manus. So
Yeah.
tell us what Manus is, who they are, and what they dropped into the community.
So Manus, I tried Googling. It does not on the website. It doesn't say where they're from, but they're a Chinese company, apparently, according to Twitter and other kind of social media spaces. So they actually just demoed a autonomous agent. They're claiming to be the first autonomous agent, and they showed programming examples. Well, actually, not really programming. The examples was like build me a report on the most popular blah and show it to me in a website with charts, and it goes on and does it with no human interaction in between.
Okay, and I'm assuming that the whole no human interaction between is somewhat tied to the whole idea of an autonomous agent or an agent being
Autonomous.
autonomous. Oh, is there a working definition of that right now in the field, or is that a loose
Not
term as well?
really. It's kind of fuzzy, but basically it means that the amount of human interactions needed to get to an end product that's usable is minimal. Now it could be like as little as, a few hints here or there. Like today, if you use Cloud Code or if you use some other tool like OpenAI, you can eventually get it to produce working code. But it'll take you hours. Like you can ask OpenAI, give me a script for doing this task. It'll generate code. It'll most likely not compile, not run. You can tell it the errors. It'll try to fix it, and you iterate over it, and eventually it'll work. And then you move on to the next feature. So you just rinse and repeat. And there are companies working on language models that focus on coding. And the common thing is that beyond boilerplate simple stuff, most language models fail because it doesn't really understand why it's getting an error. It just knows there's an error. So as long as your error is in its training data, you're okay. If it's a new error that it's never seen, it's completely useless.
By the way, we've got two videos to drop into the uh, discussion box here about Manus because it is pretty crazy. Um, This poses a problem for the big boys, right? This is a
Yeah.
little bit of a curveball. Explain how and explain to the degree that it is or isn't similar to the DeepSeek drop.
So people are comparing it to DeepSeek because they're claiming that they'll open source some of the models. Right. So for OpenAI, that's a big kind of obstacle because now can you really charge $20,000 a month for something that someone's going to open source? And the answer is going to be no. I mean, I
Right.
wouldn't.
Well, and unless OpenAI and Google and Microsoft and Anthropic and whoever else, unless they're sitting on something that they haven't released, if Manus is real and it's doing what it says it is,
Yep.
then those guys are behind, right?
Yep. Yeah, this goes back to Eric Schmidt last summer saying, "Oh, China's behind." Well, guess what? You're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. They've come up with what in just almost 2 months, they've come up with two big drops, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, like people like Eric Schmidt, they've been in the silicon industry for a long time and they got blinders on. They think this is my worldview and it's correct, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, and what you and I have said is that necessity is the mother of all invention. Without all of the great access to data, power, people,
Yep.
everything, that all lines up perfectly in Silicon Valley, um, other parts of the world are going to have to work with different rules, right? They just can't spend, it can't buy the biggest, NVIDIA chips. They can't, outspend their neighbor. And so they might just innovate their way into something that's even better. And then maybe that's kind of what's happened here with DeepSeek and Manus AI. Um, so we don't know who Manus AI is. We think they're Chinese. Has anyone looked at their framework or model and taken a peek at like what they did?
So, I mean, people are trying to figure out exactly what they're doing. So there's no confirmed details, right? We'll have to wait till Manus actually releases details about exactly how they're doing it, what models, how many models, how they refined it. But I mean, the reality is, I mean, corporate America likes to think that they drive the world, but in reality, open source is what's fueling all this innovation. And it's easy to let Silicon Valley VC guys claim that, oh, we're the king of the world and we build everything. It's like, no, you didn't build anything. You just ripped off stuff and then packaged it. And then, yeah.
All right, so if you had to make a prediction, I know you hate making predictions, and I won't ask you to predict what's going to happen to OpenAI and Anthropic, but if you had to make a prediction, what do you think they did at Manus AI? Is it new or is it a cobbled together of the common and the old?
I would say because they didn't have Microsoft giving them 10 billion or 100 billion dollars worth of resources, they just innovated because they had to. It's just that simple.
So you think it's new, something new, or a spin on new,
I mean, I don't really know, but I
right?
mean, if I think back to when Linux took over Unix, I mean, before Linux was popular, we had IBM had their AIX, you had IRIX, you had HPUX, you had you had all these different Unix variations, and now there's Linux because that's the model. I mean, the whole internet runs on Linux now.
Well, at some point, we should expect that there's going to be curveballs that come in from other parts of the world, and it looks like we got our second one from China. So, well, this is
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
I think that we are just on the edge here. I mean, it seems like even though things have happened so fast, now that stuff's starting to come in from other parts of the world, now you're going to get the cross pollination that's going to happen, and
oh
things are
yeah.
going to
Oh,
really
yeah.
accelerate.
Accelerate. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's lots of smart people in Europe. There's a lot of smart programmers in Ireland.
Yeah,
I mean, what else?
Israel and right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tons of places that they're smart people. They'll figure it out. So I mean, the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah,
So it just make it tough for
good,
OpenAI to make money.
good topic, Peter. Um, well, we might have to do multiple topics a week, like I said, just to keep up with what the pace of innovation at this point. Um, be sure to follow us on Spotify if you like the audio version. Otherwise, we will catch you next week. And thanks again, Peter. Take care.